conversation for another time. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Fayette County School Board of School Trustees monthly meeting. We are here in the admin building. It's Tuesday, January 9th, and we have a few meetings, a couple of meetings before we get to the main meeting, so let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we begin tonight with our, first I want to ask for a motion to approve the agenda as submitted and amended.
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, our first meeting tonight is going to be our organizational meeting for the election of school board officers. So I'd like to open the floor for nominations for board officers for 2024. As a reminder, these positions are president, vice president, secretary, and assistant secretary. Whereas Jeremy says, personal assistant to the secretary. We can choose to nominate individuals for each position, or you can nominate a slate. That's the choice, whatever your pleasure is. If someone wishes to nominate a slate of officers, he or she should state each position with the name of the board member being nominated for the position. Once a nomination is received, I will see if anybody else has a nomination before we proceed. So with that, I'm going to ask if anybody has any nominations for the board. Mark.
I'd like to nominate our current slate of officers, which would be Leslie for president, Lori for vice president, Ann for secretary, and Jeremy for assistant secretary.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, I need to seek a motion to approve to close nominations. Do I hear second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, nominations are now closed. Now I am seeking a motion to approve the slate of officers as nominated by Mark. Yes, I'm seeking that nomination, or that vote. Motion. Thank you, Jeremy. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by having your hand up. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. So now I'd like to seek a motion and a second to close this part of the meeting. So, do I see a motion?
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. A second?
I'll second.
Oh, thank you, Lori. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and now I will turn the meeting over to Jeremy as Finance Board President. It's 6:35, right?
We have to wait till 6:35. I have 6:34.
Oh, it's 6:34. I'm sorry. I went by the clock and so we will wait 30 seconds.
Or we're going to do the gavel.
Jeremy, would you like the gavel? So
You call it the gavel.
Yeah, he needs the
He
gavel.
needs that. Hit somebody on the head.
Get the right angle on some of them.
Just don't hit Chris over the head. It might be.
If it's coming this way, you let me know, okay?
I can see his fire just a bit.
I think it's just dust, it's just a concrete.
This is what you do with 30 seconds. All right, 6:35, Jeremy.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Board of Finance meeting for Fayette County School Corporation. We need to select two board officers for 2024. The following 2023 officers currently is myself as president, Chris Hunt as secretary. I'd like to open the floor for nominations for the Board of Finance officers for 2024. As a reminder, these positions are president and secretary. We could choose to nominate individuals or each separately, or nominate a slate of officers for both positions?
I'd like to nominate the current slate with Jeremy as president and Chris as secretary.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right.
No. Do you have any other nominations? We have to close that, sorry.
Yeah, do you have any other nominations?
Are there any other
Nominations.
nominations?
Any other nominations for these positions? Seeing none,
Motion to
A
close.
motion to close.
nomination?
motion to close.
Make that motion?
Hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ann.
Do you have to vote?
All in favor?
All in favor, raise your hand, vote. Let's see. All right. That's it.
No,
Make a
No,
motion
now you
to
need to
vote.
have a motion to approve the slate.
Oh, okay. Do I get a motion to approve the slate of officers?
I so moved.
Thank you, Ann.
I second.
Thank you, Mark.
That's Ryan.
No, Mark.
No.
Oh, it was Mark, I thought it was Ryan, sorry. Sorry.
Check your batteries, Ann.
Hey, put the glasses down.
Fair enough.
Okay.
A motion.
Now you have to seek a motion.
Can I seek a motion for,
The appointment to of the slate of officers.
We already have a
We need a
motion, we
vote.
just need to vote.
Oh, that's right.
So much for
okay,
this.
so all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Seeing all, okay. Motion
Carries.
carries. That's it.
Don't we need
So
a
you
motion
maintain the gavel?
to adjourn?
No,
No.
he's gonna turn it over to Randy.
And now I turn it over to Randy.
The high bar that's been set tonight. I
Are your
don't know if I
batteries
can
okay?
continue, but I checked my batteries and I've got my glasses down. What else do I need to do?
Traffic lights aren't working.
Did you see?
Okay, let me try to bring a little order to this. The first thing is we are required to do an investment review, and you have that in front of you. And I'm not going to cover it in a lot of detail now because you're going to see it come back around during my presentation. But just real quickly, if you look at the interest received in 2023, the 0101 fund is our, you seeing it?
Put it in the packet, so it's online for those who have their computers
Okay.
and they will not. So,
Then I don't have one.
oh,
Do you have yours? Nope.
it's in your packet.
Thank you. But the 0101 fund is our education fund. During the 2023, we accumulated, and like I said, I'll skim through a little bit, approximately $253,000 in interest in that fund. And in our 300 fund, which is the operations fund, we accumulated approximately $223,000 in interest. I would tell you, don't forget those numbers, but yeah, you can forget them because I'll bring them back. Our day-to-day accounts, checking accounts, we have our operating account, have a balance of approximately $18 million, very similar to where it was last year. Payroll clearing account, which stuff just goes in and out, it always has a balance of $1 in it. And then our credit card payments account has a balance of $10,000, and again, that's pretty well just a flow through. At the bottom of the page, you will see our investments, the CDs that we have, and that's where I will compare those a little bit in when I get into the formal presentation. But right now we have $9,352,291 in CDs, accumulating various amounts of interest, which I said, don't go into details, we'll get into the details here as we get further along. But any questions on that? We'll get more details and comparisons as we go along. So that's one. The second thing that I have is just simply to review our investment policy. This is one as part of the board policy handbook. It was adopted back in 1999, but we continue to use the same policy, and really it just talks about the purpose of the finances, the liquidity of the funds and all of those kind of things. And I don't see, after reviewing it each year, I don't see any reason to change the policy. It's probably one of those that maybe in the next year or two, we might want to just re-approve it simply because we haven't changed it in 25 years. So it's a long time, but that's what our fiscal policy is. Now we'll get into more of the details and those kind of things. So now we'll move up onto the screen. I'll put it over there. We'll go on. This is just going to be reviewing where we are. Hopefully everybody, as I told Scott today, hopefully we go through it pretty quick because this is one, we don't have any rookies at the table this year. So last year Ryan was the rookie for the first time, but this time everybody's been through it. All of this information comes from the Distressed Unit Appeal Board, commonly called DUAB. And you'll notice that most of the data is a year behind. And when I say a year behind, I don't mean going from 24 to 23. It's data that was provided as recently as 2022. So that's where we are. Some of it's a little bit more current, such as the average daily membership. This is one we also cover when we go through the budget back in the August, September, October timeframe. You can just see a nice, I don't know whether it's nice, but a gradual decrease of our attendance. And it is not just in the 10 years that are reviewed here, but this has been going on for 20, 25, 30 years as the ADM has decreased across not just our school district, but virtually 90% of rural Indiana. So we're not unique there. Fund balances, you see all the things. It's a little bit hard to see the details. Notice though that in 21, 22, our fund balances really did increase. Just a reminder, a lot of that has been due to the ESSER funding because we've been able to throw some stuff into ESSER that we didn't have to take out of our normal ones. You're going to see these start gradually going down, beginning a little bit with 23 that we just finished, so you'll see a little bit next year. But as we go into 24, we're definitely going to see those fund balances start to decrease because we are down to, I don't know exact current balance, but ESSER 3 is the last one. ESSER 2 we just finished up effective December the 15th. So now we are into the last bit of the federal money that came from the COVID epidemic. Annual deficit or surplus, you can see that for the last 4 or 5 years we've had a surplus every year. Next year and going forward I would expect to see deficits. Not significant, they will be controlled, but our cash balances are probably about as high as where we're going to see them as we go into multiple things between just the normal day-to-day stresses of paying personnel, or likewise going into the building projects and things that we go into with Frazee, the high school swimming pool, and some other things that we've already got in the works going on. Fund balances, again, have increased through the 2022. You're going to see a leveling out in 2023 next year, and then gradually decreasing as we go forward. Revenue types. And really the very right side of that chart where you see the very top line where it says federal stimulus revenues, it's a little hard to tell the discrepancy in the colors there, but you see a big gap. That in 2023 is going to be even a higher amount because ESSER 3 was even larger. So, but the bottom part of it, those are all going to remain relatively the same as we go forward, whether we're looking at local tax revenues, which we have control of, and as we've tried to moderate those, or whether we look at debt revenue, our bond issues, those kind of things. And then the state revenues are relatively flat as we go through the next years or two. Okay, here's where I'm going to go back to the sheet that showed the interest. Normally I just show the interest rate of where we are and pretty much we've made this much or that much. But here I used last year's numbers on the right side of it for 2022, and I've got this year's numbers of 2023. As you look at that, you will see that in 2022, we brought into the education fund a real dinky part over $6,000. Now this year in 2023, where we brought in $253,000 plus into the education. in the Fund 300. A year ago, we brought in about 66,000, and last year we brought in $223,000. I would love to sit here and tell you that I'm brilliant as all the things I did. It's the market. It had nothing to do with me. I know all of my years of being superintendent involved with central office. The year before I started superintendent in 2009. The year before, the school district where I was, and probably if I went back to Fayette County and looked at 2008, I would bet that the interest rates were probably similar to where 2023 is. And then the rates plunged, and since 2009, every school district in the state that's had any CDs, you've been looking at somewhere probably between 0.2 to 0.5% over a 10-year period of time. Last year, they spiked and went up significantly, and so we've been seeing the benefits of that. Getting in a little bit more to the details, the bad side of this chart is that the numbers look small. The good side of this chart is that the numbers are not small. A year ago, whenever I showed you this chart on the rates, the highest rate that we had on it was 3.47, I think is what it was. The lowest rate that we have now is what, 5.15%? So we've had about a 1.5% difference between our lowest to what was our highest, and we had a couple of them on a year ago that were in the 0.4 range. So the numbers even that you see this year with the interest going across there and the bond rates where we've went to just a little short of $500,000, I would expect those are going to be even higher next year because, as the chart says here, Baker Tilly, who we worked with the financing and the bonds and all of that, and they really are kind of financial advisors in the big picture. I work with them closely the 2 and 3 days of, if you look at what's the next one that is coming due on March the 25th of this year, so here in 3 months. The BMO Harris, the one at 5.22 is going to come up. 2 or 3 days before there, I will talk to George Bockham, is the gentleman's name with Baker Tilly, and say, where are we now? And usually I've got an idea just because I pay attention to financial records out there a little bit. You go, well, it looks like they're creeping up. It looks like they're creeping down. It looks like the long-term rates are better. It looks like the short-term rates are better. Ultimately, on the day that the old ones expire, he goes out and seeks quotes for the new one. And based on our conversations, he may go, well, I'm looking for rates for 9 months, 15 months, and 24 months. And he normally gets rates from about 4 or 5 banks or investment companies. And when he brings those to me, then, I can't remember the exacts on we'll stick with the top one there at 5.22, but it may have been one of those that he goes, well, the 9 month right now is at 5.22, but they think it's going to go down, so the 1 year is at 5.0. And well, why don't we stick with the 9 months and make the difference? Or sometimes we do get the point that it may, but the 9 months is at 5.25, let's say, but at 18 months it is 5.22, and he's going, for that 3/10 of or 3/100 of a point there, I would go ahead and go out 15 months instead of going for a few extra points at the shorter one. So we debate all of those each time, and then we also try to do it. We don't want all of them to come due on June the 15th. We don't want all of them to come due on any given date. So we also look at how can we do it to spread them out throughout the year to both hopefully gain from it and to avoid, I don't want to say losses because there are always interest coming in, but how do we avoid it decreasing there? So that is going to be honestly a big change as we go through the next year. Because right now, I know the feds, if you pay attention to the money market and all that, they're talking about the feds are looking to cut the rate so that we keep the economy in line and all those kind of things. So both of us, from what we're doing, and him more so than me, anticipate that these rates are going to start going down as we go on. I think another unique thing that we did last year that most people, and in fact, whenever I asked him, he goes, nobody has ever asked me that one. I can't remember the exact one, but we had 2 interest rates last year coming due, I'll say in March and June or something like that. They were a little bit separated. But one of them was at 0.4% and the other one was at, I don't know, 1.1 or something like that. And there's always a penalty if you deal with the CDs even at home. If you take the money out earlier, there's going to be a penalty of some type. It's of your interest rate. They don't take away your principal, but they can take some of the interest that you've gained off of it. And I said, okay, since we've got this one, it's coming due in, I think it was 6 months at the time, but it's at 1.1 and the interest rates have went up to 5. I said, are we better off losing the interest? And it was one of those we lost, I'll say $10,000. I'm making up the numbers a little bit. We lost $10,000, but we were going to gain $40,000 more over that period, plus a larger gain going forward. So we actually lost a little bit of interest off one of them. And then another one was about a break even. And again, to keep that split there, we kept the gap in there and we went about it that way. So I think we made some real changes there that we optimized it as much as we could. I always want another 0.1%. I always want it to be higher, but it really made a difference last year. It will this year. Beyond this year, I have no clue.
It's an election year.
Yeah.
Will impact it.
Well, that's why this year's going to be good. The next year's it won't be an election year, so next year, who knows? These are just our fund balances as of December of a year ago, and this year, you can see we're all still relatively the same as we go about that. The debt service is the biggest one, and that's really just a function of kind of when we pay off some of the debts. There's nothing to be concerned about there. It really is on what day of the year you get those. So that's the financial overview. Any questions or comments or concerns or anything else about the finances?
So that interest, does that have to go into a specific fund, or can that interest, can you put that wherever, that interest income?
The interest income, if you go back to the original sheet I gave you, generally speaking, it's going, some of them are from the education fund or some of the operations fund. So whatever fund the money is held in, it has to go back into those funds.
Okay.
Now, there's ways of transferring money between
Right,
funds,
right.
but it has to go back into those funds as far as the interest rate goes. Yep. Good question.
Good management. When I see.
Yeah.
or rate
Yeah,
of
I thank
return.
Baker Tilly for it. So
Yeah.
we have really good discussions, and I enjoy our discussions as we go about it. And
Getting 5% on, over 5% on a rate of return is really good.
well, and something else, and then the last one we did, which goes out to 2025. The other ones we do look at, and that is, I did not go with the highest rate last time because we had. I'm just gonna go back. Now I need the glasses even more so. Previous. Let me go back one more. To get it, but the one that expires there on March the 7th of 2025, I believe that is a 15-month CD, I think we did it like or middle of December, and then it goes through March of next year. But if you notice that one says 5.25, it was one of those, I believe we even received one quote for like 5.27, but it was for a year. And this was also, so this one was a touch lower, but it was a Union Savings Bank, or Union Savings and Loan here in town. And so I also felt that was another one. I mean, we do look at, sometimes the local bank is not competitive, and we're doing what's best for the school district, but sometimes they're right there in the running, and it's like, hey, if we can keep the money here in town, we'll keep the money in town. So we also think about that as we do those, and most of the time it ends up pretty cut and dried. And I usually go to Scott and say, hey, here's what we're going to do, and show him the numbers. He goes, yep, okay. And then there's a couple times that we've had hey, the little bit of difference here, but here's what I'm thinking, and so far we haven't got into any too big of a fight on it, and we usually come to an agreement and say, yep, that's what's best, so. We also look at that to try to keep the money in town when we can do so.
Well, and it's, the odds are good, we're gonna see rates dropping. I mean, they're gonna continue, so what, I think one of our strategies for this year, as these mature, is we may go longer term if we can lock in a higher rate, because I think the market is gonna correct itself, because I think I think the economy's gonna hit a pretty tough spot. I mean, that's what a lot of the forecasters, so we could see home loan rates and car loan rates really drop, which will help the real estate market even more and help buyers. So you may be seeing longer terms, that's something Randy and I talked about. We may lock in the 2 year, if we can get a 5% locked in. So that'll be, it's very strategic with what Baker Tilly helps us with too, trying to project that.
Even that, the 15%, I wanna say we had a 24 month, but the 24 month was like at 4.9 or 4.7. It was like, well, we could do that and it locks us in, which is good, but let's kind of play. We could lose, I mean, it may drop to 4 and we go, dang it, we should have, went the other way. But usually pretty good discussions we have, and we feel comfortable where we're at as far as the whole market goes right now.
Randy, I appreciate your efforts since you've been with us. Feel very comfortable with what you're doing.
Good, thank you. Jeremy, it's back to you.
All right. I'd like to take a motion to close the Board of Finance meeting.
I'll make that motion.
All right,
I'll
here's-
second.
Second, thank you. Now I just need a hand vote to approve the motion to close the meeting. All in favor, raise your hand. Aye. Okay. Meeting closed.
You just stay.
A couple minutes.
A couple minutes to spare.
Yep. We adjusted it this
We
year.
could make it even faster if we all figured out how to listen, read what Scott put for us.
You had enough?
That's all he came for.
Don't do it.
Cowards die 1,000 times.
I've got a change made to the personnel report.
That's a nice service
Steve, would
package.
you like to sing the national anthem to start us off?
No, I'm okay.
He's great now.
I don't want everybody on camera jumping off bridges and stuff like that. They're singing, so. Or eardrums blowing or whatever.
Not one of your talents.
So have we got that information on hotels and everything last week?
I don't know why.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the agenda to see if there's a pre-conference. I haven't looked at any
Sure,
of it.
that was a decision.
Right.
You and me.
Yeah.
So far, I asked the rest of the guys, because Jeremy wanted more time. I told him we already gave him an extra month. He still wants more
Yeah,
time.
you can't have any more time, Jeremy, otherwise we're gonna be staying at a hotel that's 10 miles away and try to get there.
Super 8 motel.
Who's all going? Anybody all right?
Ian and I are going, Scott will be going, probably.
Brian, are you going to NSBA?
I need to look at my schedule. and see.
April
Mark,
4th through the
do you
6th,
think
is
you're
that-
going?
No,
Chris? No? Okay. So it's Jeremy
It's
and
4th
Ryan.
through the 6th.
Are you
I know,
gonna
but
go?
this is the one in March, right?
No,
Or is
yeah,
it
April.
April.
Oh, this is
First week
April.
of April.
Oh, this is April.
Lori likes to go.
She told me Jonathan was going there.
Okay.
I asked her.
where you going to New Orleans?
It must be for the
Never
7th.
been there.
Oh, it's a great
So the
town.
8th is the.
Great,
Great seafood.
great history, oldest church. in
Well,
America.
from a historical perspective, yeah, I'm really excited to go. Because I want to see, I've seen the places on TV and the like.
But one thing you'll notice when you go into town, Ann, all the graves above ground by about 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah,
Okay, we're
yeah, I just,
It's so weird, the first time you see that, you're like,
well, but there's a lot of that in Europe too.
All right, we will call the public meeting, business meeting to order. We'll begin with any public comments, seeing none. We will look at the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from the executive session of 12/12/23 and the regular business meeting of 12/12/23. The personnel report, which includes retirements, resignations, leave of absence, etc. The approval of the December 2023 claims 66733 to 66938. The appointment of the corporation treasurer and deputy treasurer. The financial expenditure goals, conflict of interest statements, and a donation of $1,000 from Hydro or Hydro, whichever you want to call it, to the girls' basketball program to be used to help pay for meals while on the road, minor equipment needs, and other expenses.
I say hi, Drew.
Okay. You say Hydro, I say Hydro. I would like to seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jeremy, second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll go on to action items. The personnel report, Mr. Harris.
The personnel report, the first one, I kind of want to make a different note, or a note a little bit on certified staff. We're recommending Caroline Cooley, elementary teacher at Eastview, effective January 8th. If somebody really paid attention, Caroline is actually, she did her student teaching during the first semester and in the same classroom, but technically then she didn't have her license, her regular teacher's license. She did have a sub-license, so she was simply on as a long-term sub first semester, but she has now completed her degree from Ball State University. She has her full license, bachelor's degree. Mom and Dad seem to be happy, and we are thrilled that now she is a full teacher with us.
She's pleased with the money also.
Yes. Classified staff recommending Denver Belt as the permanent sub-custodian that we use throughout the school district. Lisa Copeland as special education assistant. She is at St. Gabe's. If you're not familiar, we do work with St. Gabe's. We're required to as part of our funding there. Recommending Grace McCann as the Head Start Family Service Coordinator at Little Spartan Preschool. Mackenzie Wilson as Title I Education Assistant at Eastview. And Jason Woods as the permanent sub at Everton.
Okay. Seeing the personnel report, I'd like to seek a motion to approve. Thank you, Jeremy. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Short meeting. Persons wishing to make the board aware of suggestions, ideas, or comments may address the board at this time. Comments which involve personnel or students must be discussed in private. Seeing none, we will move on to report items. Superintendent discussion group reports. And I mentioned to Jeremy before the meeting, this is an opportunity if any of you sit on committees related to your school board position, or are assigned to a commission outside of the school corporation, like Jeremy's on the redevelopment board. I think that's the only one that may be outside of,
Park board,
or park board.
Park board, Head Start board,
Well, Head Start's part of the school
yeah,
schooling, so I was thinking of outside of the
yeah, park board.
school.
'Cause
So this would be an opportunity if you care to ever share something that happened in those meetings, or if you're on a committee for school board that you want to share something from a committee, would be your time.
So I also want to acknowledge our own board president, who's in a leadership role with Region 6 as the
New director.
new director. Thank you, Mr. President. So it's a really nice leadership position for her to represent us and our students and this, throughout the state here in Fayette County. So kudos to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm
So
on
at the regional meeting, I won't be sitting with you, I'll be sitting in
up
the
at front, okay.
She'll be the big
Whoa.
Into the microphone.
Yes, so people can hear.
They want to find a different place than Willie and Red's because of that. It was so hard here, it was impossible here.
But the food is great.
Yeah.
Maybe they could cater wherever we have
But
it.
that would be very nice. They could just cater. The park board, all you swimming families are looking desperately for lifeguards for the park pool this year. We had to close days last year to swimming for the kids because we simply did not have enough lifeguards. Marla has posted it on the big sign I know some of you have had kids that are, well, I know Owen was a swimmer. If Owen wants a nice job for the summer, please have him see Marla at the park board or any swimming families. We want to have a full slate of days open for the kids so we can have enough staffing to do that. And literally, we had to close the pool several days last summer because we did not have adequate staffing with certified lifeguards. And the park will pay for the certification of those lifeguards with a guarantee that they would continue on through the summer months. So please, swimming families out there, if you have.
Or even if you're not a swimming family and you know how to swim,
Yeah.
or you're an adult who would like summer opportunity outside of your teaching year. I'm sure
It's
Steve
all
wants to do
fun,
that.
fun in the sun and
Right.
and
Get a good tan.
that's a big, we're trying very hard to get a better focus this summer on having enough staff because we started out with not enough barely enough lifeguards last year, and over the course of the summer, we lost 3. And it just was an untenable situation, and a lot of people were really upset. We were not happy about it, but that's why we're starting now to try to recruit people. So,
It's not unique to our community, it's
No.
everywhere.
No.
It's everywhere, finding a
No.
place.
I think Indianapolis opened like half of their pools last summer.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, principal director reports. Anybody in the audience there want to share anything happening in your neck of
Open
the
house,
woods?
February 15th.
Open house February 15th?
Yep.
At what time?
I think it's 5:30, 7:30.
Yes.
Steve, that's a Thursday?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
But you should all get invitations to that too.
Okay. It's good though to have a little bit of notice, so.
If Sonny's doing her job, you'll get invitations.
Fine. It's throwing you under the bus, I see. Moving on, director of operations.
I'll make this short and just point out a couple of things, so we went through a lot of fun. But if you look at the fund report, about, I don't know what it is, 8 or 10 down there, you'll see one that says construction fund. That is part of the money that we have received for the Frazee pool project, so that is a new fund that's been added. And if you go down a couple below that, there's an all-school textbook fund. That is basically a collection. The state law no longer allows buildings to do textbook because everything's now through the state. So that's a new fund that we have added with collecting what monies were out there in the buildings and those kind of things. So changes a little bit of it, and that'll just be ongoing from now on.
Thank you. Okay, assistant superintendent report.
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, superintendent report.
I always have something, but this month is Board Appreciation Month, and I know we posted some things out there too, but I just want to say publicly how much I appreciate the individuals around this table in your support of our schools and our kids and staff. So I can tell you throughout the state, there are a lot of school boards that don't function and run always what's best for the kids. And this board has always done that in my tenure here. And I just want to say thank you. People don't realize all the things that may come across your plate as a board member and things you hear or whatever, but I appreciate you sending those folks back to us to allow us to work through situations that we may not be aware of. So I just want to say thank you for choosing to serve in this area and supporting our kids.
Thank you. Okay, for the good of the cause. Anybody have anything they want to share tonight?
I'll share something, historical note. On this date in 1776, Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense. Only about half of our country could read at that time, but they sold 500,000 copies in the next few months. And of course, that was January, so by July, we had declared our independence. And I wish we had a Thomas Paine around today, because we need some common sense really bad.
These are the times that try men's souls.
You know, they're here again.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, appreciate that.
I have something as well. Swimmers, they had their conference meet, and I wanted to personally say, Kaylin, Martin was the MVP, a conference
The whole thing.
MVP, and she's outstanding.
Yeah, yeah,
She's a personal favorite.
yeah.
You know.
Well, we have such a small team and they've done, individually, they have done so well.
They had a great meet all together.
Yeah.
It was,
Those kids put a lot of heart into it for only having, I think we've got 11? Is it 11 on the whole,
Great.
boys and girls together? So hopefully we
Great
can
talented group of
build
ones.
that up, yeah. But they've been, and I think it's also made them a little tighter, closer as a group, which has been really nice.
yeah.
The city of Connersville got public recognition on TV at the small college playoff. Evan Schaefer actually caught a pass, and the Grizzlies did not win, but the commentary was made that he was from Connersville, Indiana, and that everybody looked like, where the heck is Connersville, Indiana? But he represented his school well and the community well, because people in cities just don't understand the connection that you have in a smaller town, in a smaller school corporation. He was over in the high school one day over break, just before break, and I was picking up some stuff from Andrea, and it was like, is that Evan? Is that, and he sat at lunch and talked to the kids and talked to them about, he's really made quite an impression on so many kids. This is what you can do if you work hard and you set yourself some goals, and academically he's doing well, and certainly he's enjoying his time in the spotlight. But he is a very proud representative of Connersville and Connersville High School.
Yes. Reminder, we have the retreat January 30th.
Mhm. 4 day.
Right, so, and we will be here, so just make sure you've got that on your calendar, and Steve Horton will be here, and
Who was that date again?
the 30th,
30th.
4 to 8 p.m.
Maybe like dinner too.
Yeah. So, I just want to, send out good wishes to all our students and staff starting the second semester. I know it's a little hard to come back after the holidays, and you got the long slog till you get to, spring break for any considerable time off. So, they're all back at it, and hopefully it was a good day for everybody. Like yesterday they went back, so now they're into the swing of things again. So, with that, Mr. Hunt, it looks like we're towards the end of our time here.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Very good. Thank you. And a second?
I will second that.
Oh. All right, Ryan.
Oh, I thought we turned that over.
All right, all those in
Coach
favor
Davis,
signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Everybody.